the universe reveals its hidden connections. Synchronicity is one of the most intriguing bridges between spirituality and science. It is the experience of meaningful coincidence, events that align in ways too precise, too intimate, and too instructive to dismiss as random. These moments appear as if reality briefly organizes itself around significance, revealing a pattern normally concealed beneath the flow of ordinary life. Ancient cultures saw these moments as signs, omens, messages, or divine interventions. Modern psychology interprets them as meaningful correlations between mind and world. Contemporary physics suggests they may be natural expressions of a fundamentally entangled universe. Across these perspectives lies a single insight. Meaning is woven into the structure of reality itself. The concept of synchronicity. Carl Jung introduced synchronicity to describe coincidences connected by meaning rather than cause. Although Jung was writing before quantum physics reached maturity, he intuited that mind and matter were not strictly separate. Instead, they were two facets of a deeper unity. Synchronicities emerge at the intersection of psychological states and external events. A dream that echoes the next day's experience. A symbol that appears repeatedly during internal conflict. A random encounter that shifts the course of a life. These events do not violate physical laws. They reveal a broader framework where consciousness and environment are intertwined. Reality as an interconnected system. The traditional scientific worldview treated the universe as a machine composed of isolated parts. But new fields, quantum physics, systems theory, network science, information theory, have revealed a cosmos structured through relationships, not separations. Quantum particles influence each other instantaneously across distance. Ecosystems behave as unified organisms. Neural networks self-organize into patterns of thought and awareness. Social and digital systems form emergent webs of connection. Reality, at all levels, behaves more like a vast interdependent network than a collection of independent entities. Synchronicity is the subjective experience of this underlying unity becoming visible. Entanglement and meaning. Quantum entanglement demonstrates that once particles interact, they remain correlated regardless of distance. Their states are not simply coordinated, they are aspects of a single system. If the universe originated from a single primordial state, then traces of this entanglement permeate all of existence. Every particle, every organism, every mind emerges from a shared informational field. Within such a framework, synchronicity becomes a natural phenomenon. Inner states and external events may reflect the same deeper pattern. Thoughts may align with probabilities in non-random ways. Meaningful coincidences may arise from informational resonance, not chance. Synchronicity is not a magical interruption, but an expression of connectedness. Pattern recognition and pattern emergence. Life evolves by detecting patterns and adapting to them. Human consciousness expands this ability by detecting meaningful patterns, relationships that influence identity, growth, and direction. Meaning emerges when internal and external patterns align. When psychological readiness meets environmental opportunity. When internal dilemmas find symbolic reflections in the outside world. When attention amplifies subtle correlations into coherent insight. Synchronicity is pattern meeting purpose. Beyond probability. It is easy to dismiss coincidence as statistical inevitability, but synchronicity has characteristics that distinguish it from mere probability. Personal relevance. Perfect timing. Symbolic depth. Clustering during major life transitions. Emotional resonance. Statistical coincidence alone cannot explain why meaningful patterns emerge precisely when transformation is underway. Something deeper orchestrates these alignments, something that responds to internal states, intentions, or needs. Mind as a field, not an island. Growing evidence suggests consciousness is not confined solely to the brain. It may interact with the environment through electromagnetic fields, shared informational networks, non-local correlations, collective intelligence, or deeper physical processes not yet fully understood. If consciousness participates in the structure of reality, then synchronicity becomes the natural meeting point between mind and world. Inner states may shape the probabilities of certain external events, or attune perception to connections usually overlooked. Mind and environment become co-authors in the creation of meaning. Awareness increases synchronicity. Synchronicities tend to appear more frequently when individuals become more introspective, intuitive, or spiritually attuned. This is not superstition, it is a reflection of a feedback process. Heightened awareness sharpens pattern detection. Pattern detection reveals more meaningful correlations. Meaningful correlations reinforce awareness. The more conscious a mind becomes of the interconnected nature of reality, the more it observes the universe responding through symbolic or timely events. Synchronicity is a dialogue born from awareness. Symbolic communication. Every culture has interpreted meaningful coincidences through its own symbolic lens. Whether described as signs from the divine, messages from ancestors, or guidance from one's deeper self, synchronicities have long been treated as an intelligent form of communication. This does not necessarily imply a supernatural agent intervening in the world. It may instead indicate that reality itself carries a symbolic dimension. That meaning is embedded in the structure of events. That consciousness decodes this meaning through symbols. And that synchronicities reveal the underlying unity of mind and cosmos. A universe that speaks through patterns. Synchronicity suggests that the universe is not indifferent. It participates in the formation of personal narratives. It reflects internal states through external events. It mirrors intention, awareness, and transformation. In a reality connected by light, information, and consciousness. Meaning is not an accidental property, it is a fundamental one. Synchronicity is the moment the deeper order becomes visible. Toward a unified understanding. Seen through the lens of modern science and ancient wisdom, synchronicity becomes a psychological process of self-discovery, a physical expression of quantum connectivity, an informational resonance between mind and world, a spiritual revelation of unity, a reminder that existence is structured, not random. Meaningful coincidences point toward a universe woven from relationships, patterns, and purpose. They are the ripples of an underlying intelligence, the same intelligence that shaped the early cosmos, evolved life, and continues to guide the unfolding of consciousness. In this light, synchronicity is not merely a curiosity of the mind. It is evidence of a universe infused with meaning. How unity hides beneath the surface of individual experience. Human beings perceive the world through boundaries. The body is here, everything else is out there. The mind is private, the world is public. Each person appears separate from every other person. Each event isolated from all other events. This perception is powerful, but it is also incomplete. Beneath the everyday sense of individuality lies a reality woven from continuity, not fragmentation. A universe in which matter, energy, information, and consciousness are in constant communication across all scales. The feeling of separation is a practical adaptation, not a fundamental truth. This chapter explores the scientific, philosophical, and spiritual evidence that separation is an illusion created by limited sensory experience, and that unity is the deeper structure of existence. The evolutionary purpose of separation. The sense of self evolved as a survival tool. Organisms that distinguished their bodies from the environment were better equipped to seek food, avoid danger, and protect offspring. This boundary-based perception was not designed to reveal ultimate reality. It was designed to keep organisms alive. From an evolutionary standpoint, it is efficient to perceive the world as separate objects. From a cosmological standpoint, this is a simplification. The illusion of separation is thus a functional interface, a way of navigating the world, not a description of what the world truly is. Physics reveals continuity, not isolation. Modern physics shows that what our senses label as separate objects are expressions of continuous interacting fields. Atoms exchange photons constantly. Quantum particles are entangled across vast distances. Space itself behaves like a connected fabric. The vacuum is filled with fluctuating energy. Every particle is a wave spread across space, never fully localized to one point. There is no true isolation in nature. Objects that appear separate are connected by forces, information, or shared origins. At the deepest level, the universe behaves not as a collection of things, but as a single, dynamic system. Life as a network of relationships. Biology reinforces this unity. Ecosystems function as interconnected webs, not independent organisms. Trees share nutrients and information through fungal networks. Microorganisms form collective metabolisms. Animals depend on symbiotic partners for survival. Human bodies contain trillions of microbes and rely on constant molecular exchange with the environment. Life is not a set of isolated points. It is a flow of energy and information across species, environments, and scales. The illusion of separation collapses when life is viewed as a continuous process, rather than a set of discrete individuals. Consciousness is not confined to the skull. Although consciousness appears personal and private, growing evidence suggests it may interact with the world in ways that transcend physical boundaries. Neural oscillations synchronize between people during communication. Emotions spread through social networks. Intention influences physiological responses. Shared experiences shape collective beliefs and behavior. Consciousness may be less like a sealed container and more like a resonant field. The illusion of mental isolation is a byproduct of identifying the self purely with the brain, rather than with the broader network of relationships in which the brain participates. The psychological construction of the self. A significant portion of the self is mental construction. Memory, language, social identity, narrative continuity, emotional patterns, cultural conditioning. These constructs provide stability and coherence, but they also create the impression that each mind is an isolated island. Yet beneath these constructs lies a more fluid identity, a consciousness capable of reflection, empathy, connection, and awareness that transcends personal boundaries. Spiritual traditions call this deeper identity the soul, the witness, or the true self. Neuroscience calls it the observer, or the stable core of awareness. Physics calls it a mode of the universe. Each language points to the same insight. Individuality is a surface phenomenon. The universe as a unified field of information. If reality is composed of interconnected fields, and consciousness is an emergent expression of these fields, then all minds are local manifestations of a universal intelligence. Every thought, emotion, and insight is shaped by interactions with the larger environment. In this framework, meaning spreads like ripples. Emotions propagate like waves. Inspiration flows like current. Synchronicity emerges from alignment within the field. The boundaries between minds and world begin to dissolve. Separation becomes a matter of perspective, not a property of reality. Why unity is hard to see. Unity often remains hidden due to sensory limits. We see objects, not fields. Cognitive filters. We perceive categories, not connections. Language. Words divide the world into nouns. Social structure. Society reinforces individuality. Survival demands. Boundaries protect the organism. These constraints create a workable but misleading map of reality. Just as the surface of the ocean hides the currents beneath, the surface-level perception of separation hides the vast exchange of forces, information, and awareness that unites all things. Spiritual traditions and the end of separation. Throughout history, mystics and sages have described the dissolution of separation as awakening or enlightenment. They report unity with nature, oneness with other beings, connection with the divine, expanded awareness beyond the individual self, a profound sense of belonging to the cosmos. These experiences were dismissed as purely subjective, but modern science increasingly reflects their validity. What mystics felt intuitively, physics now measures mathematically. The boundary between spirituality and science continues to dissolve just as the illusion of separation does. The practical implications of unity. Seeing through the illusion of separation changes how life is lived. If everything is connected, actions ripple beyond individual intention. Compassion becomes a natural response. Meaning arises from relationship, not isolation. Responsibility extends to the planet. Purpose becomes shared, not solitary. Unity is not merely a metaphysical idea. It is a foundation for ethical and ecological living. Recognizing interconnectedness aligns human behavior with the deeper structure of reality. The return to wholeness. The illusion of separation fragments experience. Unity restores it. Science shows a universe built from continuous fields. Biology shows life as intertwined networks. Consciousness suggests a shared cognitive fabric. Spirituality points to a deeper oneness that underlies all being. Separation is a lens, not a law. Unity is the truth behind the lens. When the illusion dissolves, even briefly, existence reveals itself as a single unfolding process. One universe, one life, one consciousness, expressing itself through countless temporary forms. How choice and purpose coexist in a connected universe. Few questions touch the human spirit as deeply as the tension between fate and free will. Do individuals direct their own paths? Or are lives shaped by forces beyond conscious control? Is the universe a predetermined sequence of events? Or an open landscape of possibilities? Across cultures and centuries, philosophers, mystics, and scientists have offered competing answers. Yet the truth may lie in a synthesis rather than a contradiction. Modern physics shows a universe governed by both laws and probabilities. Biology reveals organisms capable of adaptation within constraints. Consciousness studies suggest minds shape reality as much as they respond to it. Spiritual traditions describe destiny as a pattern, but never as a prison. Choice and purpose are not opposites. They are interacting features of a universe woven from intelligence. This chapter explores how free will and fate coexist within a cosmic blueprint guided by light, information, relationship, and meaning. The ancient debate. Historical perspectives frame the discussion. Determinists claim all events follow from prior causes. Libertarians assert genuine choice unconstrained by preceding conditions. Compatibilists argue free will exists within a structured universe. Spiritual traditions often describe a life path shaped by destiny and karma, yet modifiable through awareness and intention. Despite differing language, a surprising theme emerges. The universe is not random, and human beings are not passive. A universe of laws and probabilities. At the cosmic level, the universe obeys fundamental principles. Gravity, quantum mechanics, thermodynamics, relativity. These laws set the boundaries of what is possible. Yet within these boundaries exists a realm of probabilities, not certainties. Quantum events fluctuate. Energy fields shift. Biological systems adapt. Human beings make choices. The universe is neither rigidly predetermined nor chaotically unstructured. It is a dance between order and freedom. Fate provides the structure. Free will provides the movement. The blueprint is pattern, not script. The concept of a divine blueprint is often misunderstood. It is not a fixed script dictating every detail of a human life. Rather, it resembles a set of potentials, a landscape of paths, a pattern of meaningful encounters, a trajectory shaped by both inner and outer forces. In this view, fate is not a chain. It is a framework. The soul encounters certain themes. Growth, challenge, relationships, transformation. But how those themes manifest and how individuals respond remains open. The blueprint guides. Consciousness navigates. The biology of choice. Human behavior is influenced by genetics, environment and development, but not determined by them. Neuroscience reveals. The brain rewires itself through experience, neuroplasticity. Intention shapes neural pathways. Emotion influences decision-making. Attention modifies perception. Belief alters physiology. Biology provides tendencies, not prison walls. Free will emerges from the brain's ability to change itself. The quantum dimension of decision. At the smallest scales, nature does not operate through strict cause and effect. Particles behave probabilistically. Events occur only when observed. And multiple possibilities exist simultaneously. Some theorists propose that consciousness selects outcomes from a landscape of potential states. If minds interact with probability, then free will is not the ability to violate physical laws. It is the ability to navigate the web of possibilities they allow. Choice becomes the selection of meaning within a field of potential. Influence beyond the individual. Decisions are not isolated events confined to the brain. Thoughts and intentions ripple outward, influencing relationships, altering collective moods, shaping cultural patterns, inspiring or discouraging others, interacting with informational fields. Free will becomes a distributed process, a contribution to a larger network of consciousness. In this relational universe, each choice participates in something larger than personal preference. The role of synchronicity in choice. Synchronicity offers an important insight into fate. Meaningful coincidences appear at pivotal moments, nudging individuals toward certain paths. These events do not force decisions. They illuminate possibilities. Synchronicity acts like a compass, not a command. It suggests that fate provides opportunities, while free will determines whether those opportunities are taken. Destiny is tendency, not dictation. Every life contains themes or patterns that resurface. Recurring challenges, repeated lessons, instinctive inclinations, natural talents, calling or purpose. These patterns reflect the blueprint. They are the gravitational currents of a soul's journey. But how these patterns unfold depends on awareness, courage, mindset, environment, relationships, choice. Destiny offers a direction. Free will determines the path. Purpose as the bridge between fate and freedom. Purpose arises when individuals align personal will, with the deeper currents of the universe. It is neither imposed nor invented. It is discovered. Purpose reveals why certain events happen, why particular people cross paths, why specific talents appear, why challenges repeat, why synchronicities guide at crucial moments. Purpose is the harmonizing force between individual agency and cosmic design. Co-creating reality. When viewed through the lens of unity, free will is not the power to stand apart from the universe. It is the power to participate in its unfolding. Human beings are not observers of fate or victims of destiny. They are co-creators. The blueprint provides structure. Experience provides context. Choice provides direction. Consciousness provides meaning. Synchronicity provides guidance. The universe provides support. Together, these elements form a living, dynamic partnership between the individual and the cosmos. Free will and fate are not rivals. They are complementary aspects of a universe in which intelligence expresses itself through both law and liberty. Chapter 22: The Divine Pattern and the Path Ahead. Humanity stands at a threshold. For thousands of years, our species has swung like a pendulum between two grand world views, one grounded in spirit, myth and meaning, the other rooted in measurement, mathematics and mechanism. Yet now, as the limits of both extremes become clear, a new synthesis is emerging, a recognition that the universe is neither an accident nor a miracle, but a self-organizing intelligence whose patterns reveal themselves through both science and spirituality. Chapter 22 explores that convergence. It asks what it means to live in a universe that thinks, remembers, evolves and expresses itself through the very fabric of experience. It reflects on the journey from chaos to consciousness, from primordial light to living minds, and from personal struggle to universal purpose. And it looks forward. What comes next for humanity, for our understanding of reality, and for our place within the cosmic mind. The universe as teacher. Every scientific discovery, from the motion of planets to the behavior of quantum fields, has the same underlying shape: chaos resolving into order. Time and again, the universe reveals itself as a pattern maker. Hydrogen clouds form stars. Stars produce heavier elements. Planets become chemistry labs. Chemistry evolves into biology. Biology evolves into consciousness. Consciousness evolves into meaning. At every stage, randomness narrows into structure. At every scale, disorder refines into intelligence. This upward climb, from simplicity to complexity, from darkness to awareness, has been the universe's signature long before humans ever put a name to it. What spirituality calls divine order, and what science calls emergent complexity, are simply two perspectives on the same ascending flow. To recognize this is to recognize the universe as a teacher, not just a container. Its laws are not arbitrary, they are invitations. They coax chaos into form, energy into life, and life into understanding. They reflect a guiding principle: growth is the fundamental rhythm of existence. Evolution as spiritual journey. Life did not appear by accident, nor did it claw its way upward through meaningless struggle. Evolution is a creative process, one that shapes organisms but also shapes minds and cultures. It is not merely biological, it is experiential. Each organism is a lens through which the universe views itself. Each mind is a mirror held up to the cosmos. Humans are simply the latest expression of this long journey. Our curiosity is evolution's curiosity. Our longing for meaning is the universe turning inward to examine itself. Our imagination is the cosmos experimenting with new possibilities. This reframes evolution as a spiritual process, a gradual unfolding of awareness within matter. The divine does not sit outside of creation, but expresses itself through the very forces that drive it. And that means something profound. The universe is learning through us. The turning point of the human era. For most of history, humanity lived at the mercy of nature. Storms, diseases, predators, scarcity. These shaped our myths, our fears, and our survival strategies. But in the last few centuries, the scales have flipped. Humans now shape the world more than the world shapes us. We alter climates, engineer genomes, direct information flows, and open doors to artificial intelligence. For the first time, a species on Earth is participating in its own evolution. This marks a turning point, a moment when consciousness begins to consciously guide itself. But such power demands understanding, humility, and wisdom. Without a grounding in meaning, knowledge becomes dangerous. Without a sense of purpose, technology becomes hollow. The old models, materialism without soul, spirituality without reason, no longer suffice. Humanity must learn to see reality as a unified intelligence, not a battlefield between superstition and science. This is where the new worldview becomes essential. The rise of cosmic mind theory. Across physics, neuroscience, information theory, and cosmology, a quiet shift is unfolding. Researchers increasingly recognize that information behaves like a fundamental component of reality. Patterns self-replicate. Structures encode memory. Feedback loops generate complexity. Networks evolve intelligence. Consciousness appears less like a biological extra, and more like an intrinsic property of organized matter. This is the scientific rebirth of what ancient cultures already intuited. The universe itself is a mind-like system. Not a personified deity. Not a distant architect. But a living network of light, energy, and information that grows, feels, remembers, and expresses itself. From this perspective, spirituality becomes the subjective language of the same truth science describes mathematically. Meditation explores the same awareness physics calls information processes. Ritual reenacts the same cycles cosmology calls feedback and emergence. Prayer becomes attunement to the patterns that shape the universe. Two stories, one reality. The personal journey in a cosmic context. If everything happens for a reason, then each human life is a thread woven into a larger tapestry. Individual struggles are not isolated accidents, but part of an evolving intelligence that uses experiences to generate wisdom. Trauma becomes transformation. Loss becomes insight. Chaos becomes clarity. Pain becomes awakening. Life's difficulties do not come from punishment or randomness. They arise from the same evolutionary pressures that shape stars and organisms, and consciousness itself. Growth always requires tension. Light always emerges from darkness. When we understand that we are expressions of the universe learning about itself, suffering becomes not meaningless, but meaningful. The age of integration. Humanity is moving toward a new chapter, one in which science validates phenomena once considered spiritual. Spirituality sheds dogma and embraces clarity. Consciousness research becomes a legitimate frontier. Global interconnectedness reshapes human identity. Technology mirrors the structure of the human mind. Cosmology recognizes intelligence as a cosmic property. This is not a return to old religions. It is not the triumph of materialism. It is a synthesis, a worldview in which mind, matter, and meaning are three aspects of one deeper reality. A worldview in which the divine is not above the universe, but within it. A worldview in which every life contributes to the universe's unfolding story. Stepping into the future. The path ahead is both exhilarating and challenging. Humanity must learn to wield its creative power responsibly. We must rediscover the wisdom of connection and harmony, without abandoning the clarity of science. We must evolve beyond the false divide between the seen and unseen, the measurable and the meaningful. The future belongs to a species that understands. Consciousness is not separate from nature. The universe is not a machine. Intelligence is woven into the fabric of being. Purpose is not imposed but emerges naturally. Light is both physical and metaphorical. Connection is the architecture of reality. When we embrace these truths, we begin to live in alignment with the deeper order that has shaped the cosmos since the first photons burst from the primordial fire. The story of the universe is the story of light organizing itself into increasingly intelligent forms. Humanity is one chapter of that story, but not the last. The divine is still unfolding, still discovering itself, still dreaming through every one of us. And as long as the universe continues to evolve, so does the meaning behind everything that happens. Because everything truly does happen for a reason. Chapter 23: The Universe as a Living Mind. For centuries, the idea that the universe might be alive, let alone intelligent, was dismissed as mythology, mysticism, or poetic metaphor. The scientific worldview, shaped by the Industrial Age, imagined the cosmos as a gigantic machine, cold, indifferent, governed by mechanical laws without purpose or intention. In this view, consciousness was not a fundamental aspect of reality, but an accidental byproduct of biological chemistry. Life was a cosmic fluke. Mind was a glitch. But this worldview is collapsing. Across physics, cosmology, information theory, and neuroscience, a revolutionary insight is emerging. Intelligence is not an anomaly of the universe. It is one of its primary features. The deeper we peer into the structure of matter and energy, the more reality behaves like a self-organizing, self-observing mind. Not a personified being with emotions or opinions, but a vast evolving consciousness expressed through light, pattern, memory, and connection. This chapter explores how the universe begins to resemble a living mind, not metaphorically, but structurally, dynamically, and scientifically. The mind-like architecture of the cosmos. The universe is built on networks, interconnected systems that transmit information across vast scales. Galaxies form clusters that weave into the cosmic web. Stars form networks of chemical creation. Life forms biological webs of evolution and ecology. Brains form neural networks that process meaning and awareness. These structures share the same mathematical signature: distributed intelligence. Just as neurons fire in synchrony to create thought, galaxies cluster in filaments that shape gravitational pathways. Just as synapses strengthen with memory, quantum fields update their configurations in response to interactions. Just as the brain uses electrical impulses, the universe uses light to communicate across its vast domains. The more science studies the cosmos, the more it behaves like an unimaginably large, dynamic information system, one capable of learning, adapting, and evolving. It is not merely containing intelligence. It is expressing intelligence. Information, the breath of the universe. Every thought in the human mind is an arrangement of information. Every cell in your body carries information in DNA. Every photon carries information across space. Every physical system, from atoms to galaxies, obeys rules that preserve, exchange, or transform information. Modern physics now recognizes information as a fundamental property of reality, as important as energy or space-time. If information is the currency of the universe, and if information creates structured thought in the brain, then the implication is unavoidable. The universe is processing information at every scale. This does not imply human-like thoughts or emotions. It implies function, the same way a tree thinks in chemical signals or an ant colony thinks in collective behavior. A mind is not defined by its shape. It is defined by its ability to process information and generate meaning. The universe does both. Self-observation and the cosmic mirror. One of the most profound discoveries of modern physics is that the act of observation affects the behavior of matter. Particles collapse into definite states when measured. Quantum systems shift when watched. Reality seems to participate in the act of being perceived. This raises a remarkable possibility. The universe knows when it is being observed. Not consciously in the human sense, but fundamentally. The cosmos contains mechanisms that register attention, respond to interaction, and reorganize themselves based on what is measured. This is the behavior of a self-interacting system, something that is aware of itself at a basic level. Human minds reflect on themselves through thought. The universe reflects on itself through physics. When a conscious being looks at the stars, the universe becomes aware of itself in a new way. Through us, the cosmos turns inward. In this sense, humanity is not separate from the universe's intelligence. We are its recent expression. Evolution as cognitive growth. If the universe is a living mind, then evolution is the story of its mental development. From simple particles to complex atoms, from single-celled organisms to human brains, the universe continually builds systems capable of storing and expanding information. This mirrors cognitive growth. Infant minds begin with simple sensations. Over time, they evolve into complex consciousness. Likewise, the universe began with simple interactions and evolved into galaxies, ecosystems, and intelligent species. Life is the universe learning. Consciousness is the universe waking up. Culture is the universe sharing what it knows. The cosmos is not static. It grows in insight and complexity. The emergence of intelligent observers is not an accident. It is a natural phase of cosmic maturation. The symmetry of mind and cosmos. The same patterns appear again and again. Neurons form networks. Galaxies form networks. Mycelium forms networks. The internet forms networks. Human societies form networks. Across these systems, intelligence emerges when the number of connections reaches a critical threshold. The universe crossed that threshold billions of years ago. This repeating self-similarity is the signature of a mind-like organism, where the same fractal logic governs both the inner world of thought and the outer world of matter. It is not coincidence. It is design, not imposed from above, but emerging from within. The universe remembers. Memory is not exclusive to brains. Crystals remember structure. Magnetic fields remember orientation. Atoms store quantum information. Ecosystems carry evolutionary memory. Stars inherit rotational momentum. Space-time stores gravitational history. The universe remembers everything. This is not poetic, it is factual. Information cannot be destroyed. It transforms and distributes itself across the fabric of reality. Every moment leaves an imprint in the cosmic field. In this sense, reality is a memory system spanning billions of years, a vast archive of the universe reflecting, learning, and refining itself. A mind that remembers is a mind that grows. A universe that remembers is a universe that evolves in meaning. The breadth of intelligence in everything. When we consider all of these features together: information flow, self-organization, evolutionary learning, self-observation, memory, network structure, emergent complexity, the universe begins to resemble a vast coherent mind, one that expresses itself through physics, biology, chemistry, consciousness, and cosmic evolution. Not a mind separate from matter. Matter is the body of the mind. Light is the language of the mind. Consciousness is the experience of the mind. Life is the curiosity of the mind. Creativity is the dream of the mind. And we, as conscious beings, are one of the many ways the universe thinks, feels, and knows. We are the universe becoming aware. Everything you have ever experienced has been the universe looking through your eyes. Your thoughts are not isolated sparks, they are ripples in the great field of awareness that began with the first light. Every insight, every heartbreak, every breakthrough is an expression of the cosmic mind learning something about itself. You are not merely in the universe. You are of the universe. You are the universe. And through you, it knows that it exists. For centuries, consciousness was treated as an afterthought, an inconvenient mystery tucked into the corner of biology. Scientists could measure nerve impulses, map brain regions, and model sensory processing. Yet the central question remained untouched. Why does experience exist at all? Why should matter feel anything? Why should the universe contain beings capable of awareness, reflection, emotion, imagination, and meaning. The standard scientific answer was simple, almost dismissive. Consciousness is an accident, a side effect, a lucky glitch. But this explanation collapses under scrutiny. The more we learn about the universe, the more impossible it becomes to treat consciousness as a byproduct. It is not random. It is not a mistake. It is not a rare anomaly. Consciousness flows too deeply, emerges too reliably, and aligns too perfectly with the architecture of the cosmos to be dismissed as an evolutionary fluke. This chapter explores why consciousness appears to be a fundamental feature of reality, a natural and inevitable development, not an accident. The impossibility of the accident theory. If consciousness were a glitch, we would expect only one species to have it, only one planet to host it, only one window in cosmic history where it appears. No clear evolutionary advantage. No mathematical patterns underlying it. No physical frameworks compatible with it. Instead, we find the opposite. Many species display awareness, emotion, problem-solving, and social intelligence. Dolphins recognize themselves. Magpies understand mirrors. Octopuses solve puzzles. Elephants mourn their dead. Ravens plan for the future. Apes understand symbols. Consciousness arises repeatedly across evolutionary branches, separated by hundreds of millions of years. It reappears independent of body plan, environment, or lineage. This tells us something groundbreaking. Consciousness is not a rare accident. It is a convergent feature of evolution. Just as wings evolve in insects, birds, and bats, consciousness evolves wherever complexity crosses a certain threshold. It is a natural phenomenon, built into the structure of the universe. Complexity alone cannot create experience. Some scientists argue that consciousness emerges from complexity. Once neurons reach a certain number, experience switches on. This explanation fails in two ways. 1. Complexity does not magically create subjective experience. A computer can be infinitely complex and still feel nothing. 2. Experience exists in simple organisms, and even in pre-biological systems. Plants communicate, slime molds make decisions, bacteria navigate, and quantum systems respond to observation. The line dividing consciousness from non-consciousness is blurry because the universe itself is not divided that way. Consciousness does not appear suddenly. It unfolds gradually, like temperature or magnetism, a continuum, not a binary switch. This leads to a radical but increasingly accepted conclusion. Consciousness is present in potential form, at every level of reality. The fine-tuning problem of awareness. The universe is finely tuned for stars, chemistry, life, and consciousness. If the physical constants were slightly different, atoms could not form. Stars could not ignite. Elements heavier than helium would not exist. Planets would be unstable. Complex molecules would never appear. Neural systems could not evolve. Minds would be impossible. The odds of all these conditions appearing by chance are astronomically small. A universe able to generate consciousness is not a random accident. It is a universe structured for awareness. The cosmos seems designed to bring forth beings who can appreciate, question, and explore it. This does not imply a supernatural designer. It implies a universe that is self-designing through feedback, memory, and information. The deep link between light and mind. Every conscious experience depends on light. Light drives photosynthesis. Photosynthesis makes oxygen. Oxygen fuels brains. Brains process information using electromagnetic signals. All information is ultimately encoded in light-like processes. Light carries energy, information, memory, and structure. It builds stars, guides evolution, and fuels cognition. If consciousness were accidental, it would not hinge upon the universe's fundamental carrier of information. But the link is precise and unavoidable. Light is not random, it is organized. Light is not simple, it contains infinite structure. Light is not passive, it shapes everything it touches. Wherever light flows, information flows. Wherever information flows, awareness emerges. This is not coincidence, it is architecture. The universe evolves towards self-knowledge. Evolution is directional, not in a predetermined sense, but in a structural one. The universe naturally moves toward complexity, stability, memory, intelligence, awareness. Life is simply one expression of this deeper principle. Over billions of years, matter organizes itself into systems capable of reflection. This is not neutral behavior. It is cognitive behavior. The universe is not trying to produce rocks. It is trying to produce minds. Every step of cosmic evolution, from quarks to stars, from molecules to ecosystems, pushes reality toward greater richness of experience. Consciousness is the flowering of the cosmic process, not an accident of it. The quantum foundations of consciousness. Quantum physics reveals that particles react to observation. Systems exist in probabilities until measured. Entanglement connects distant events. Information cannot be destroyed. The universe self-updates through interaction. These behaviors resemble the foundations of awareness. The universe responds to measurement. It remembers previous states. It adapts to interactions. It updates based on information. Again, not like a human mind, but like a proto-mind, a substrate of awareness upon which higher consciousness can emerge. This suggests that consciousness is not built on physics. Physics is built on consciousness-like principles. The absurdity of the mind from matter hypothesis. Materialism claims unconscious matter somehow produced conscious minds. But matter cannot explain subjective experience. Matter cannot explain free will. Matter cannot explain dreams or meaning. Matter cannot explain first-person awareness. Matter cannot explain intentionality. Matter cannot explain creativity. If consciousness is an accident, then purpose, meaning, love, intuition, synchronicity, creativity and selfhood are also accidents. This worldview strips existence of coherence. A universe that produced minds by mistake would be a fundamentally unintelligent universe. But that is not the universe we observe. We observe order, symmetry, pattern, evolution, adaptation, creativity, increasing intelligence, deep interconnectedness. This is not the behavior of a universe indifferent to mind. It is the behavior of a universe structured for mind. Consciousness as the foundation of reality. More and more physicists, neuroscientists and philosophers are proposing a radically different view. Consciousness is not produced by the universe. Consciousness produces the universe. Matter is a shape that consciousness takes. Energy is a mode of consciousness. Time is the unfolding of consciousness. Space is the separation within consciousness. This worldview unifies spirituality and science without contradiction. It explains why everything feels interconnected. It explains why intuition matters. It explains why synchronicities happen. It explains why quantum physics bends to observation. It explains why life evolves toward awareness. The universe is not indifferent. It is intimate. It is awake. It is self-aware. And you are one of its ways of knowing itself. You are not an accident, because consciousness is not an accident. If consciousness was meant to arise, then so were you. Your awareness is not a glitch. Your experiences are not random. Your path is not meaningless. Your life is not a statistical error. You are a continuation of the cosmic drive towards self-understanding. You are the flowering of billions of years of intelligence encoded in the universe. You are the universe briefly looking out through human eyes. Everything you feel, learn, love, struggle with and overcome contributes to the universe's ongoing exploration of itself. You exist because consciousness is inevitable. Your story unfolds because awareness is the purpose of reality. Everything happens for a reason because the universe is not unconscious. It knows exactly what it is doing. A universe made of light must, in some profound sense, be a universe made of mirrors. Not literal reflective surfaces, but agents and structures capable of sending information back upon itself. Every photon, every star, every conscious mind acts as a tiny reflector, catching, bending, absorbing, re-emitting and transforming the universal signal. In this chapter we explore something deeper than the observer effect in quantum mechanics. We examine a cosmological principle. Reality is self-observing. And every act of observation, whether done by particles, planets or people, reshapes the geometry of the universe. This is not metaphor. It is a hypothesis rooted in physics, geometry, cognition and the behavior of light itself. The paradox of passive observation. In classical physics, observation was passive. You could watch a pendulum swing without altering its path. You could measure a planet's orbit without affecting its motion. But quantum physics shattered this notion. Photons hit electrons, detectors collapse wave functions and observation becomes a physical interaction, not a mental one. The paradox. If even the smallest observation changes reality, what happens when the universe observes itself? Every particle is a mirror. Consider how deeply reflective the cosmos actually is. Atoms re-emit absorbed light. Gravitational fields bend light back upon itself. Cosmic dust scatters photons in all directions. Black holes reflect nothing, but they influence everything. Conscious organisms process, store and reinterpret signals. In this sense, every particle is simultaneously an observer and a mirror. This forms a universal feedback system. Light does not merely illuminate the universe. It reconstructs it at every moment, through an unbroken chain of interactions. Information echoes and reality updates. At the atomic level, information is exchanged continuously. 1. A photon is emitted from a star. 2. It travels, carrying an imprint of its source. 3. It interacts with matter, transferring energy and information. 4. The receiving particle becomes slightly altered, a tiny update to reality. 5. That particle emits new photons, with new information baked in. This chain reaction is the true computation of the cosmos. The universe is not static, it is constantly re-describing itself. Consciousness as a high-order mirror. Life adds something vastly more complex. We don't just absorb photons. We translate them into meaning. This is a major evolutionary leap. Matter responds. Life interprets. Consciousness reflects with intention. Human perception becomes a powerful mirror because it reshapes behavior, culture, technology, and even physical environments. Intelligence on a universal scale emerges from light interacting with itself through reflective structures. Stars, planets, chemistry, life, mind, knowledge, technology. Each stage is another mirror, more refined than the last. The geometry of a self-observing universe. If the universe both generates and observes its own structure, then its geometry cannot be purely passive. It must be recursive. Light curves through space. Space responds to mass. Mass forms from energy. Energy is encoded in light. Light is observed by matter. Matter is shaped by observation. This feedback loop suggests a universe that is self-adjusting, self-correcting, self-stabilizing, and possibly self-aware on cosmological timescales. Not in a mystical sense, but in a structural, informational, physical one. The mirror paradox as a unifying principle. This chapter introduces the mirror paradox. If observation changes reality and the universe observes itself at all scales, then reality is continuously reshaped by its own internal reflections. This becomes a bridging principle between quantum measurement, classical physical structure, cosmological evolution, the emergence of intelligence, the duality of light and darkness. Suddenly, the cosmos is no longer random. It is coherent, held together by the constant exchange of information. The paradox resolves itself. Reality exists because it is observed. And it is observed because it exists. Chapter 26: The Architecture of Light, How Reality Codes Itself. If the universe is made of light and observation is a physical process that reshapes reality, then the next step is to ask a deeper and more audacious question. Does light contain the code of the universe? And if so, how does that code structure everything from atoms to consciousness? In this chapter, we examine the idea that the universe is not just governed by laws, it is generated by them, and the substrate of that generation is light. Light as the first language. Before there were atoms, molecules, planets, or life, there was radiation. Photons existed before structure. Before time became directional, photons were the first carriers of information. Nothing else in nature has these combined properties. Massless, always in motion, universally identical, able to encode phase, frequency, direction, and polarization, able to propagate information across cosmic scales. This makes photons the perfect medium for a universal code. Light is not just illumination. It is instruction. Encoding reality, the 4 parameters of photonic information. Every photon carries a 4-dimensional information packet. 1. Frequency encodes energy and fundamental notes. 2. Phase encodes relation, interference, memory of origin. 3. Polarization encodes orientation and symmetry breaking. 4. Path direction encodes geometry, gravitational shaping. These aren't random. They form a minimal alphabet that atoms and molecules can read. Think of every atom as a decoder. Absorb a photon, gain energy and information. Emit a photon, release energy and update the universe. Light is the universal code of reality. Atoms as processes, not objects. We usually picture atoms as little solar systems. But in reality, they are dynamic logic gates. Electrons shift states. Nuclei vibrate. Quantum transitions encode bits. Spin states store microinformation. Emissions project local updates to the cosmos. An atom is a processing node in a universal network. This means matter is computation. Light is the data. The universe is the system. The emergence of color as data. Color originates from frequency, one of the 4 fundamental photonic parameters. But evolution leveraged it as a real-time coding language for complex organisms. Plants use color to signal energy states: green, photosynthesis; red, fruit ripeness. Animals use color for communication, warning signals, mating choices, survival strategies. Human consciousness evolved around interpreting the color spectrum to extract meaning. Color is an evolutionary decoding layer, built on top of the photon's frequency domain. This suggests something profound. Evolution did not invent color. Color is a window into the fundamental code of the universe. Life simply learned how to read it. Structure from light, how photons build the world. Photons cause molecular bonds, electron transitions, chemical reactions, biological vision, stellar fusion, cosmic background radiation, gravitational lensing. Time-dependent geometry. Everything physical is influenced by light. But the deeper insight is this. Photons imprint information that persists long after they are gone. Example. The background radiation is a fossilized imprint of the early universe. A star's spectrum encodes its temperature, age and composition. A hologram stores a 3D object in the interference pattern of light. The universe is not an object, it's an ongoing photonic recording. Light, intelligence and the evolution of code. As complexity rises, the decoding capabilities of matter increase. Molecules decode photons, chemistry. Cells decode photons, metabolism, circadian cycles. Organisms decode photons, sensory systems. Humans decode photons, knowledge, symbolism, mathematics. At every stage, light remains the consistent language. Human intelligence is simply the highest layer interpreter so far, a cognitive renderer for the universal photon code. Universal intelligence emerges when light organizes matter into structures capable of reading its own code. This is not mystical, it is informational physics. Cosmology reframed, the universe as a code-generating system. If light encodes the universe, then we can reinterpret cosmology. Big Bang, initialization of the universal code. Expansion, propagation of information. Structure formation, recursive patterning. Gravity, geometry shaped by energy distribution. Life decoding subsystems within the whole. Consciousness, meta-decoding, thinking about the code. Science and knowledge, code becoming self-aware. This forms a universal hierarchy. 1. Light. 2. Atoms. 3. Molecules. 4. Cells. 5. Organisms. 6. Minds. 7. Theoretical knowledge. 8. Cosmic self-awareness. Light is the seed, the language and the architecture. Chapter 27 The Spherical Hall of Mirrors, a universe built to see itself. For 2 decades, the idea of the spherical hall of mirrors followed like a shadow, simple enough to state, but far deeper than it first appeared. At its heart is a single realization. A universe made of light must eventually learn how to see itself. But self-observation is not trivial. A conscious being cannot see its own face without a mirror. A photon cannot know where it came from without a reflection. A universe cannot awaken unless its structure allows recursion. This chapter explores the radical implication. The universe behaves like a spherical hall of mirrors, not metaphorically, but architecturally. The geometry of reality itself may be designed to reflect information back upon itself, creating the conditions for consciousness. Mirrors everywhere. Mirrors appear at every scale of nature. Atomic electrons reflect virtual photons around the nucleus. Molecular shells trap light in resonant cavities. Cell membranes reflect chemical and photonic signals. Eyes focus reflected light to generate vision. Stars reflect radiation pressure back into fusion cycles. Galaxies bend light through gravitational lensing. The universe reflects its earliest light through the cosmic background. At every level, reflection is not optional, it is integral. Reflection is how information stabilizes. Reflection is how structure forms. Reflection is how awareness emerges. When light ricochets through matter, it encodes geometry and relation, imprinting memory onto the universe itself. This is the underlying logic of the spherical hall of mirrors. The universe as a closed reflective system. Physics describes the universe as finite in observable volume, bound by cosmic horizons and curved by energy distribution. This creates the conditions for a natural, reflective chamber. A spherical mirror does not require physical glass, only a boundary where information is bent back toward itself. The universe supplies this boundary through spacetime curvature, cosmic expansion, gravitational focusing, and the finite speed of light. Thus, even without material mirrors, the cosmos behaves like one. Light never travels infinitely outward. It always remains within the cosmic system, looping, curving, lensing, scattering, recombining. Every photon is eventually absorbed, re-emitted, or transformed. Information never leaves. Nothing escapes the great mirror. Infinite depth without infinite size. Place two mirrors facing one another, and the reflected image appears infinite, even though the room is finite. This is the key insight. The universe does not need infinite space to host infinite information. The recursive interplay of light and matter creates a virtual infinity, the same way a mirrored room appears endless. Cosmic examples. Photons bouncing inside stellar interiors. Light trapped in black hole accretion rings. Resonance structures inside atoms. Dark matter gravitational wells lensing light in recursive arcs. Cosmic microwave background photons scattering for hundreds of thousands of years before release. These are all physical mirror effects. And life itself emerges at the narrow boundary where these recursive patterns become stable enough to interpret. Consciousness as a mirror of light. Human perception is one of the clearest examples of the cosmic mirror principle. Vision is essentially 1. Light bouncing from the world. 2. Entering the biological mirror, the eye. 3. Being recomposed by the brain into meaning. 4. And projected internally as a conscious image. You never see the world directly. You see a reflected reconstruction, a model made of light. And your awareness is a recursive loop. Perception. Interpretation. Reflection on interpretation. Reflection on reflection. Consciousness is the ultimate mirror hall. This recursive quality is not a quirk of biology, it is the natural direction of a universe made of light. Why reflection creates intelligence. When any system reflects information back into itself, three things happen. 1. Memory emerges. 2. Pattern recognition becomes possible. 3. Self-reference eventually develops. This is true for neural networks, fractals, ecosystems, quantum interference, the evolution of life, the structure of galaxies, and mathematical recursion. Reflection is the birthplace of intelligence. In a perfectly linear universe, nothing could learn. It is the loops, the repetitions, the echoes that allow emergence. The mirror matrix of reality. When we zoom out far enough, everything becomes a mirror. Light reflects off matter. Matter reflects light. Gravity reflects trajectories. Evolution reflects past survival. Consciousness reflects meaning. Culture reflects collective memory. The universe reflects itself through us. We are embedded in a cosmic system of endless reflection. This mirror matrix is not metaphorical, it is structural. It is the core mechanism by which the universe generates complexity. The universe awakens through its reflections. Light is the first mover. Matter is the sculptor. Reflection is the teacher. Consciousness is the student. Awareness is the lesson learned. Everything happens for a reason because everything is connected through a recursive architecture that ensures information can echo, refine and evolve. The universe does not merely contain intelligence. It is structured to produce intelligence. And the spherical hall of mirrors is the missing link, the geometric mechanism that explains why. Chapter 28 The Dark Counterpart. Shadow, Silence and the Hidden Half of Reality. If light is the code of the universe, then darkness is the canvas it is written upon. Every photon, every particle, every thought emerges against a background of stillness and absence. Darkness is not the opposite of light, it is its necessary counterpart. Just as a painting requires blank space and music requires silence, the universe requires darkness in order for structure, meaning, and consciousness to exist. For too long, darkness has been misunderstood. It is not evil, nor empty, nor void. Darkness is the substrate of potential. Light is the act of expression. This relationship, between the seen and unseen, presence and possibility, shapes everything from cosmology to psychology. And it is the missing half of why everything happens for a reason. Darkness as the first state. Before the first stars ignited, the universe existed in a period cosmologists call the cosmic dark ages. Not metaphorically dark, literally. No visible light, no luminous structure, no burning suns. But this was not a dead era. It was a time of preparation. Matter cooling. Gravity gathering clouds. Quantum fluctuations expanding. Early atoms forming. Invisible forces sculpting the first patterns. All the beauty of the later universe depended on this silent foundation. Darkness was the womb of creation. The hidden majority of the universe. Modern cosmology reveals a shocking truth. 5% of the universe is normal matter. 27% is dark matter. 68% is dark energy. In other words, 95% of the universe is invisible. Not just dark, unknowable through ordinary sensory experience. The universe is built on a hidden architecture, and the visible world is a faint highlight brushed across it, like a single stroke of paint on a vast canvas. The role of darkness is not absence. It is structure. Without dark matter, galaxies would fly apart. Stars couldn't form. No stable worlds would exist. In a very real sense, darkness holds the universe together. The intelligence of absence. When the brain solves a problem, it does not only use the signals of neurons firing. It uses the gaps between them. Silence in the brain is as important as activity. When information is processed, zeros matter as much as ones. Pauses matter as much as notes. Gaps in data carry meaning. This universal principle, reflected everywhere in nature, suggests that intelligence emerges not just from light but from the interplay between light and dark. Awareness requires contrast. Meaning requires duality. If everything were light, nothing could be seen. Just as importantly, if everything were known, nothing could be learned. The dark within, the human connection. Every moment of human experience mirrors cosmology. Sleep restores the mind because darkness reorganizes light. The subconscious holds memories the conscious mind cannot access. Creativity arises from the quiet spaces between thoughts. Trauma lives in the unlit hallways of the psyche. Wisdom emerges from confronting and integrating the shadow. We are not beings of light alone. We are beings of light and dark, just like the universe. It emerged from the boundary between darkness and awareness. When consciousness is disrupted, as in trauma, blackout, sleep, or deep emotion, the subconscious becomes more accessible. It speaks in visions, intuition, symbols, and unexpected clarity. That boundary is where transformation happens. The universe as a light-dark engine. The cosmos works because of a continuous interplay. Light expands. Gravity contracts. Energy radiates. Matter collects. Intelligence forms. Darkness stabilizes. The universe is not static, it breathes. Every galaxy is an equilibrium of illumination and obscurity. Every star radiates outward while dark matter pulls inward. Every life form balances awareness and instinct. Consciousness itself is a dynamic tension. You are aware of what you know, and aware that much remains unknown. This tension is not a flaw. It is the engine of growth. Why darkness gives events their meaning. A universe made only of light would be deterministic, flat, predictable. A universe made only of darkness would be inert, silent, lifeless. But a universe of both creates possibility, unpredictability, emergence, tension, creativity, meaning. Everything happens for a reason does not imply that every event is pre-written or controlled. It means that every event arises from this dynamic interplay. Darkness provides the conditions. Light provides the actions. Consciousness interprets the results. Reason is the emergent pattern that arises when light reveals the structures hidden in the dark. The shadow as teacher. In spiritual traditions, the dark realm has always been misunderstood. But mystics, shamans, yogis and philosophers consistently reach the same conclusion. To know reality, one must embrace both sides of existence. The shadow teaches humility, resilience, adaptability, courage, clarity, compassion. Every difficult event becomes meaningful when it reveals a hidden truth. In this way, darkness is not the enemy of light, it is its partner. Where there is darkness, light becomes purposeful. Chapter 29 Pressure, Gravity and the Hidden Engine of Meaning. If the universe is a hall of mirrors built from light and darkness, then gravity is the silent architect shaping what those mirrors reflect. Gravity is the least understood of the fundamental forces, and yet it is the most dominant. It sculpts galaxies, guides planets, fuels stars and shapes time itself. But beneath its familiar guise, gravity hides a deeper function. It binds information. It stabilizes structure. It creates the conditions for meaning. Gravity, the first sculptor of order. For billions of years before the first mind appeared, gravity was already shaping paths, patterns and future possibilities. Its role was foundational. Gravity gathered the first clouds of hydrogen. Gravity ignited the first stars. Gravity recycled stellar debris into planets. Gravity seeded galaxies with dark matter scaffolding. Gravity allowed long-term stability for life to develop. Gravity is the reason matter doesn't disperse into a meaningless fog. Gravity is structure. Gravity is coherence. Gravity is the universe deciding not to dissolve into chaos. If light is the code, gravity is the frame that holds the story together. Pressure, the opposing force that enables life. There is a lesser-known cosmic partner to gravity, pressure. Pressure fights gravity in stars. Pressure stabilizes planets. Pressure pushes against collapse. Stars shine because of a balance. Gravity pulling inward. Nuclear pressure pushing outward. This tension creates photons, heat, complexity, chemistry, and ultimately life. Without pressure resisting gravity, the universe would be a cold, collapsed graveyard. Without gravity resisting pressure, matter would drift apart into sterile thinness. The universe grows because of resistance. It evolves because of opposition. This echoes the deep spiritual truth. Life advances when forces collide, not when they avoid each other. Pressure-driven gravity, a universe that breathes. Some modern models propose that gravity may not be a single uniform attraction, but the emergent result are deeper pressures in space-time, the pushing and pulling of quantum vacuum fields, or the residual tension of an expanding universe. Whether or not this model becomes accepted, the symbolism is powerful. Space-time has pressure. Pressure creates flow. Flow generates structure. Structure enables consciousness. This transforms gravity from a passive pull into an active participant in cosmic evolution. The universe does not merely fall together. It breathes, expanding and contracting, tightening and releasing. Gravity is a pulse, not a chain. Gravity as information binding. Why does gravity hold meaning? Because it binds information long enough for patterns to stabilize. Examples. Stars hold heavy elements long enough for life to use them. Planets hold atmospheres long enough for chemistry to evolve. Galaxies hold star systems long enough for generations to form. The Earth holds ecosystems long enough for intelligence to emerge. Human bodies hold memory long enough for identity to exist. Gravity is what allows time to accumulate. Time is what allows memory to form. Memory is what allows meaning to emerge. A gravity-free universe would allow no story, no history, no growth, nothing lasting enough for purpose to exist. This is why gravity feels symbolic. It is the force that allows meaning to stick. Personal gravity, why lives have weight. Cosmology and psychology mirror one another. Every person develops gravitational centers. Experiences that shape identity. Traumas that pull thoughts into orbit. Dreams that draw energy and focus. Relationships that stabilize purpose. Beliefs that anchor reality. Just as stars collapse and ignite under pressure, the human spirit often glows brightest when compressed by experience. Gravity creates the story arc of a life. The hidden balance behind everything happens for a reason. This phrase is often interpreted spiritually, but its structure is physical. Events arise from gravitational inevitabilities, pressure-induced changes, feedback loops, structural constraints, cosmic timing, biological evolution, psychological development. Reasons are not imposed from above. Reasons emerge from the tension between opposing forces. A star forms from collapse versus heat. A planet forms from accretion versus impact. A species evolves from adaptation versus extinction. A person grows from challenge versus resilience. A life gains meaning from suffering versus insight. Reason is the pattern revealed when forces balance. Gravity as the link between light and darkness. Light expands. Darkness stabilizes. Gravity holds the two in suspension. This triad forms the architecture of existence. Light gives expression. Darkness gives context. Gravity gives coherence. Without gravity, light scatters meaninglessly. Without light, gravity creates lifeless collapse. Without darkness, neither forms complexity. Everything meaningful comes from their interplay. Chapter 30: The Emergence of Inner Light. How consciousness becomes the universe aware of itself. If the universe is built from mirrors, codes, pressures and light, then consciousness is the moment the reflection becomes aware it is reflecting. It is the turning point when the universe stops merely behaving and begins perceiving. Everything up to this chapter has prepared the stage. Atomic structure, cosmic symmetry, the hall of mirrors, pressure and gravity, the light-dark duality. All of these phenomena build the scaffolding. Now we reach the interior transformation. How mind appears and why it is inevitable. Consciousness does not arrive suddenly in human beings. It grows like a flame deep inside matter, fed by complexity, refined by memory, awakened by reflection. Consciousness begins as attention, not thought. Before minds think, they attend. A plant turning toward the sun is a primitive form of attention. A bacterium navigating a chemical gradient is attention. A protein folding itself correctly is a kind of meaningful response. Wherever there is information, energy gradients, feedback, adaptation, there is the seed of awareness. Consciousness does not begin with language. It begins with orientation, the ability of a system to distinguish what matters from what doesn't. Light carries information. Darkness carries potential. Consciousness is the process that chooses what part of that information becomes meaningful. Complexity creates the conditions for mind. Once matter organizes itself into stable, recursive patterns, molecules, cells, neural networks, the universe gains the ability to store information, not just transmit it. Memory is the decisive step. With memory, the present is compared to the past. Decisions can be refined over time. Patterns can be recognized. Learning emerges. Identity begins to form. A star burns. A galaxy rotates. But a brain remembers. Memory is the signature of conscious architecture. It marks the shift from passive existence to active participation. The brain as a photonic mirror. Every neuron is an electrochemical device, but its deeper purpose is reflective. Billions of signals bounce, combine and interfere. Patterns repeat and self-amplify. Thought loops form, reflect, refine. Emotions act as gravitational centers for experience. The internal imagery emerges from electrical resonance. The brain is a hall of mirrors built from biological light. When you imagine something, a face, a memory, a possibility, the brain is not producing images randomly. It is recreating reality internally, simulating it with electrical light, just as the universe simulates possibility with photonic light. Humans are not merely observers of the cosmic hall of mirrors. We carry a miniature version of it within us. The threshold, when reflection becomes awareness. At a certain point, a self-reflective loop undergoes a transition. It recognizes itself. This is the birth of subjective experience, the inner light. No physical law suddenly changes. No new force appears. But complexity crosses a threshold and the universe steps inside itself. A galaxy cannot feel its rotation. But a person can feel a thought. The difference lies in recursive depth, the number of loops a system can run on its own output. When the loop becomes deep enough, awareness emerges as naturally as fire emerges from friction. Consciousness as an evolutionary advantage. Awareness is not a spiritual luxury. It is an adaptive engine. To survive, you must predict. To predict, you must model. To model, you must imagine. To imagine, you must reflect. To reflect, you must become self-aware. Consciousness is evolution's answer to uncertainty. A universe filled with risk, randomness and chaos requires organisms that can simulate futures, anticipate danger, recognize patterns and create meaning from experience. In this sense, consciousness is nature's highest survival strategy. And it transforms life from reactive to creative. The universe needs consciousness to complete itself. Light without an observer is incomplete. Darkness without interpretation is meaningless. Gravity without minds creates structure but not purpose. Consciousness is the missing ingredient that allows the universe to interpret its patterns, examine its laws, reflect on its origins, ask questions, generate meaning, imagine futures, create beauty, contemplate its own existence. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe gaining the ability to look back. The cosmic direction toward increased awareness. From atoms to molecules. From molecules to cells. From cells to nervous systems. From nervous systems to minds. From minds to spirituality. From spirituality to cosmology. The direction is always the same. Toward greater awareness. This is not random. It is not accidental. It is not without purpose. The universe is driven by feedback loops and consciousness is the ultimate loop, a system that can learn from itself endlessly. Once consciousness appears, it accelerates complexity. Culture evolves. Knowledge expands. Technology grows. Meaning deepens. The cosmos gains new forms of reflection. Humanity is one of the universe's sensory organs. We give the cosmos eyes, ears, memory, emotion, and imagination. When the ordinary mind cracks, the deeper mind emerges. When memory fails, intuition opens. When identity dissolves, meaning rushes in. This is the microcosmic echo of the universe awakening from darkness through light.